things are working exactly the way I would say Turning Point USA wants it to. And of course, the way Israel wants it to, now that Charlie Kirk has been killed. In fact, if you look at what's happening with this whole Pentagon press crew, it's absolutely insane who they allowed to have a press pass into the Pentagon and who they didn't. They're letting influencers, pro-Israel influencers in there to question people, but not actual real journalists. Max Blumenthal pointed this out. Everybody take a look at this. Charlie Kirk personally lobbied Trump against Iran. 6 months later, with Kirk gone, TPUSA is in the Pentagon propaganda room lobbying Trump to strike Iran again. And I was like, you can't be for real. But listen to it. So this woman here is from Turning Point USA. Watch what she says.
Thank you. And my second question regarding Iran, there are reports that Iran's been planning on rebuilding its nuclear facilities. Iranian's president has said that it plans to rebuild its nuclear facilities with, quote, greater strength. Can you provide us on any sort of update on where that currently stands?
I can tell you that Operation Midnight Hammer was an absolute resounding success. Iran's nuclear capabilities were totally obliterated, and experts estimated that, it would take 2 years for them to recover. So thanks to President Trump's bold and swift action, we were able to dismantle that threat to the American people. And I think it was also a historic operation by virtue of the fact that there was a clear end state. We have seen this department get marred down in the Middle East in endless wars, in nation building. That has stopped under this president and this secretary. We now have a clear end state, a clear mission set, and Operation Midnight Hammer was a success in dismantling.
So everything's working just how they wanted it to, right? Donald Trump and Turning Point USA is trying to make MAGA neocons. They're trying to get back to, from what I've seen, the George W. Bush era of the Republican Party. They're trying to bring that back. Why are you bringing up Iran? That's what's happening. And if that means that some people are in the way, and you see this split that's happening that we were talking about before, where people are like, no, I don't want these wars. No, I don't want this. Why do you think all these people are coming after Nick Fuentes? They're not just coming after him because they're like, oh, I think he's a racist, so we're going to come after him. They're not just coming after him because of that. There's a lot of people that are racist. You don't see them coming after them. We have to use our brains. We have to think, guys. So they are trying to turn it into that style of Republican Party, the Nikki Haley, let's go to war and bomb people Republican Party. They want to bring it back to that. And all these people that are MAGA and are against the money going to Israel and against the wars, they're in the way. I'm trying to put myself in the enemy's shoes and think the way that they would think. And you can look at this as though you were playing sports. I think this is a better way for people to look at this, right? If you know that you're trying to get to the championship and you got 2 more teams to play, but one of them always wins and you're like, okay, we beat this team. Now we got to go and we got to take on the next team. You are in the way of us getting that trophy. So the way that you get the trophy is you go out there and you dismantle and you beat that team. Problem is too many people, too many young people that are MAGA that are against the wars. And with the message that Charlie was ending with, apparently in those group texts, you can see he also was like, nah, I'm not feeling this, bruh. I'm going to walk away from this. That's a problem. So Candace said something. I want to bring this up, and then we're going to get into this whole challenge from TPUSA. Candace said something about suspicion. This was the other day. Listen to this.
There's one more thing that came in regarding Andrew Colvett, very close family friend of Andrew Colvett, had messaged me early on. And I, again, was not tracking any of this at the time, but they had said that they felt that Andrew Colvett was acting weird. And I'm sure that's not a big deal. I think we were all acting weird. Charlie Kirk was assassinated. But moreover, they had mentioned that specifically Andrew had told them that when Charlie said no to BB, he lost out on millions. Now I'm going to say allegedly because this is a tip, but I have that tip in writing. I'm not lying to you. And I thought to myself, that is so weird. How could the spokesperson at Turning Point USA be on how could they be gaining millions from that? What is the structure here of these contracts that even people that are in PR, people that are like running PR departments are getting tips on the basis of donations? I don't know how this is working, but we need to figure out how this is working. I think it's really important that we learn the truth about what happened. Who's Pierre? Is it Pierre Dupont? And has Turning Point been paid? Obviously, it wouldn't be on this year's taxes. You're not going to find those on this year's taxes, but they would be on next year's. But we can ask now.
Where's the money going, guys? A couple of nights ago, we talked about that as well. That guy that was in the video, and he said the address said it goes to this parking lot, and he said there's nothing here, and he said, "What is going on?" Remember that guy? Where's the money going, guys? So with everything that Candace has been saying about Turning Point USA, I do want you to know that she's not the only one. Another whistleblower has come forward. Now, Candace knows a lot of information too, and that's why I think they consider her to be a threat. They're like, she knows too much. But this whistleblower came forward to share his experience and claims that there was a group inside Turning Point USA that was constantly working against Charlie and millions of dollars going into the stock market that Charlie was not aware of. This guy right here, listen to what he says. So he's more people are coming forward. See how this goes?
Joshua Peterson. I worked for Turning Point USA and Turning Point USA Faith, and I knew Charlie Kirk personally. I want to say on the record that there was a inner circle at Turning Point USA that was constantly working against Charlie and his interests and what he wanted to do, as well as there was a Jewish influence in Turning Point that he was not very fond of, that he wanted to get rid of. He tried doing this, he tried creating a Doge department, and he gets assassinated. Another thing that makes me believe this inner circle was constantly working against Charlie was because of the fact that he had a whole entire branch of Turning Point that he had no idea about, and that was the stock market branch. Now, the thing about this branch is it's been getting millions of dollars poured into it over the past 4 years now, and that's been seen through their latest tax returns, which were also filed late, which was weird, but that's not a topic for another time. This stock market group that Turning Point has been throwing millions of dollars into the stock market for the past 4 years now, and Charlie Kirk had no knowledge of that whatsoever. Now, if you also look into it a little bit deeper, if you look at the staff on that branch specifically, it says zero. It says there's nobody employed in that branch, yet they're pouring $5 million into funds for employees.
Here we go again with the money. How are they paying people that don't work there? What is really happening on, folks? What's going on?
Make it make sense. That sounds like money laundering to me. It sounds like there's some pyramid scheme going on behind the scenes at Turning Point that Charlie did not know about originally, and I think that he was planning to expose that, and that's ultimately what got him killed.
Pyramid scheme. You know who else had a pyramid scheme? Patrick Bet-David. Patrick Bet-David had a pyramid scheme. A lot of people know him as that PBD podcast guy, but he had one of those where he made a lot of money and exploited people. He doesn't like it when you bring it up. That's why you'll never see me on that show. So another whistleblower coming forward again, asking questions about the funds. So now Turning Point USA decided, okay, that's it. We're going to bite and we're going to tell Candace she can come here for a debate. So they made this announcement, and watch the way that they do. And then I'm going to get into the rules that they set,
so that Candace can manipulate and string along an audience of people who don't realize they are being played. Instead of being able to grieve properly after one of the most heinous murders in American history, a murder many of us had to witness, my friends have had to endure harassment from people who have gotten whipped up by what Candace is saying. In fact, I would say we have suffered more harassment from these people than we have from Antifa supporters who overtly celebrate Charlie's murder. And just like a lot of those Antifa members, many of these people take this delight in how gross and unpleasant they can be.
Dude, you give Antifa too much credit. You really give to Antifa. Antifa is not what you think it is. Antifa is not this big thing that they try to make it, like try to make it, you know, what it, they want you to believe that it's bigger than it is. And it's not. Oh my God.
Our friends have had to endure is not funny, and it's not insignificant. It is evil. I have seen it. For months, we have received hundreds, thousands, I suspect, emails and calls asking us to respond. People have wanted us to invite Candace on the show. But for a long time, our approach was to say nothing. We did that for several reasons. First, we thought that her prevarications were so absurd that nobody would believe them. We shouldn't have to answer questions about secret tunnels or Egyptian Air Force planes. That sort of thing is just, it's beneath contempt to respond to.
Why? Why is it beneath contempt to respond to it? I saw some pictures on Twitter. I have to go back and look on X. I saw some pictures before I went live where people were confirming that those Egyptian planes were real with pictures. What do you mean it's beneath you? It should be easy to answer that.
The second reason we've said so little, though, is because there's a good rule of thumb, which Charlie followed. Do not feed the trolls. Focus on the mission. Reviving America, uplifting young people, making heaven crowded. Don't give air to people who want to tear you down and sow discord.
The young people don't want the wars, Mr. Dude. Mr. Dude, the young people don't want the wars. So how are you uplifting the young people when you have these turning point events and they ask you this question? We've shown it on the show multiple times recently. They stand up and they ask about the wars and the money going abroad.
Lastly, we didn't respond because Charlie always viewed Candace as a friend, and we were holding out hope that she would return that friendship and stop what she was doing. But a week from now, it's going to be 3 months since Charlie's murder. Candace has not changed her behavior. She has continued to spread falsehoods about Charlie's friends, and she continues to concoct new ones about new people.
Was it a falsehood, the group text that she brought forward, which Andrew Colvin had to come forward and say, yeah, that group text is real? Like, I'm just waiting for the falsehood, because she seems to be supplying receipts. And I know a number of people are like, oh, she's crazy. She's losing her mind. Da, da, da. They told you Dave Chappelle was crazy too. They told you Dave Chappelle was crazy and he ran off to Africa. And why? Because he didn't want to take $50 million. All of a sudden he was crazy. Think about that for a second. She's been providing receipts. That's all I got to say. I don't really see you guys providing any receipts. You know what I mean?
She's using these falsehoods to enrich herself while dividing the conservative movement at an absolutely critical time for this country.
He is saying she is dividing the conservative movement. He is placing that whole divide that I just told you about on one person. Really now? You don't think it doesn't have anything to do with people watching a live stream genocide for over 2 years? Nothing to do with that? You think it's all just because of one person, one podcaster? That's why people started to have that split within the Republican Party, because I don't think it is.
And far too often, we here have heard from ordinary people, people who loved Charlie and who Charlie loved so much in return. These people have expressed the worry that we are staying silent out of cowardice or as some sort of tacit admission that some of the attacks are true. Neither is the case. Our silence has never been, and it will never be, equal to complacency or approval. Still, we decided Charlie would not allow this to go on. Charlie was not a coward. Charlie was a fighter. Charlie would not allow someone to spread lies about the people closest to him with impunity. And he would feel ashamed if other people were stepping up to defend his friends while he never did so himself.
Why did it pan out and show that empty chair? It's like right after he said friends, it pans out and it shows this empty chair there with the mic.
Candace has mentioned several times that the ball is in our court. So here's what is going to happen. In the near future, there will be a live stream here in Phoenix where we address in a clear and comprehensive way the claims and accusations, the false accusations that have been made against Charlie's family, friends, and the people here at Turning Point. We plan to walk through everything carefully and thoroughly. If Candace is available, we would sincerely welcome her participation in that live stream at our studio here in Phoenix. At this point, we believe the ball is back in her court. Our motivation for doing this is not out of any obligation to Candace. It is about honoring Charlie. We feel a deep responsibility to protect his legacy, his work, and the truth. I feel that. I owe Charlie everything in my life. I feel it immensely.
Everything?
And that is why we feel compelled to speak clearly and openly now. We'll have more on this in the near future.
Everything? That was kind of a bit much, huh? You owe one person everything? Let me ask you guys a question. First of all, why does he get to pick the place and the time? When you are going to debate someone, there should be a moderator. Now, obviously, him being a part of that TPUSA circle, he should know that because Charlie Kirk hosted debates and they had moderators, or either he was a moderator a lot of times. So when you are debating against someone, you don't get to pick the place and the time. That should be decided by a moderator, and it should be in a neutral space. 2, why does she have to come to you in person? Why does she have to be there? And I explain this for those, if you were never part of debate. I was in debate in high school. There is something about home turf. So, and this goes if you're having an altercation with a friend as well. Take this note, write this down. If you're going to confront someone about something, it is best that you're doing this in a neutral space. If you confront them at their apartment, you are on their turf. They are going to feel more emboldened, more empowered. Vice versa, you know, if they're in your place. That's why you pick a place that's neutral. That actually does matter. So it's like, yeah, let's get together and have a debate. I'm going to pick the place, I'm going to pick the time, and it has to be in person. In this day and age with our technology, why does it have to be in person? So she did respond to that. And I want to show you guys this part here. She responded and said that she would accept it. And you guys have got to see what has happened since then, because it's crazy.
Candace has mentioned several times that the ball is in our court. So here's what is going to happen. In the near future, there will be a live stream here in Phoenix where we address in a clear and comprehensive way the claims and accusations, the false accusations that have been made against Charlie's family, friends, and the people here at Turning Point. We plan to walk through everything carefully and thoroughly. If Candace is available, we would sincerely welcome her participation in that live stream at our studio here in Phoenix. At this point, we believe the ball is back in her court. Our motivation for doing this is not out of any obligation to Candace. It is about honoring Charlie. We feel a deep responsibility to protect his legacy. More on this in the near future.
Yay! Finally, you didn't have to get through all that shade that you were throwing me to get to the point that you were willing to answer questions, okay? Because that's what Charlie did for a living. How could you guys think that you were just going to continue on and pretend like people asking meaningful questions was somehow an attack? That's what he did for a living. He stood up on college campuses and he debated people. And he sat there principally and debated people because he felt that he had the moral high ground, okay? And that if those people disagreed with him, he could bring them over to his side. You guys have been actually acting and embodying the opposite of Charlie Kirk's spirit, okay? And you did it even in this. It was like one big character assassination. And it wasn't to me. That's what you guys don't understand. You're not attacking me. You are attacking millions of people around the world who watched a man, an innocent man, be publicly executed and then watched what felt very much like the state collude to feed us absolute horseshit about what took place on that day.
Now, see, you guys got Candace throwing out profanity now.
Okay. 30-06 bullets do not get stopped by human necks because they eat healthy. They don't. And yes, you guys are a part of that apparatus of people who made us feel, and you've expressed it here, like you were too good to answer questions. We are already said, I got on stage and I told you that I'm Charlie's pastor. I told you I'm his best friend. I told you. You guys have even allowed people to inject themselves into his legacy that Charlie didn't even like. And we're supposed to believe you're doing this because you're his friend? Because you're committed to truth? You sat there and allowed the very people who pressured Charlie towards the end of his life to try to claim his whole legacy? And you're pretending we are the ones that are immoral? You're upset because you got caught lying. You're upset because you got caught with your pants down, but you cannot blame me for that, okay? These were your own errors. These were your own lies. And I was not going for a single second to let up on the pressure. In fact, I have been so strategic that I have been holding on to certain information, hoping that you would acquiesce to have a public conversation because I want to look you in the eye and I want to challenge you to lie to me because I care deeply about what happened to Charlie on that day. I don't think we're getting the truth. And I do believe that because you are not forthcoming about the information that you have, about Charlie texting you guys and saying that he thought he was going to be assassinated that very next day. Okay. The day that he died, Charlie knew, said he thinks he was going to be killed tomorrow. And you guys are sitting on that information. So I'm the right person. Yeah. I'm the right person to sit across from you and to ask you questions. Right.
So she agreed to do it. And I got to say this for the love of God, like Turning Point USA, you guys pissed off the wrong person. And everybody else out there, find somebody that likes you as much as Candace does, because God knows, I know people are sitting back and they're like, man, if it was me and something happened to me, I wish my friend would fight for me the way that Candace does. Like, find someone who likes you that way. So she agreed to do it. And then they decided to do something, something pretty shady. Let me see this right here. Yeah. So they made this announcement, right? From Blake Neff. The live stream we announced on the show Wednesday has been set at 4 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. local time on Monday, December 15th. A collection of Charlie's friends will respond to statements made by Candace to set the record straight once and for all prior to the opening of America Fest. We will be live streaming from Charlie's Phoenix studio. Our offer from yesterday holds. If Candace wishes to join us in person in Phoenix, she is welcome to do so. She can let us know by the end of the day. Something that stood out to me was that date. Why does it have to be December 15th, right? And someone already mentioned it in the chat, one of the things. But then another thing that I noticed as well, Dennis said December 15th is Candace's husband's birthday. You know what else is December 15th? That is the first full day of Hanukkah. It begins the evening of December 14th, but the first full day of it is December 15th. And then on top of that, according to this, they said we're going to have other friends of Charlie's there. So it's going to be 1 against 5, 6. Doesn't seem like a fair debate, but whatevs. But why does she need to be there in person? So in other words, they picked a date that they knew would be a conflict. And it's not like they don't know Candace. They know that she has children. So you got to find childcare. You got to find somebody, got to watch the kids. She's not in Arizona, so she has to travel. And why does she have to travel to you, but you don't have to travel to her? Let me tell you guys something. Listen, my dad was right back in the day. My dad said, you'll be lucky if within your lifetime, you can count all your real friends on one hand. My dad was right, because people will do you dirty. After all those years that Candace was with Turning Point USA, and she was out there like getting people to come out and vote, and she was giving all these talks and doing everything that they wanted her to do. This is how they treat you. That's why I told one of my friends before, I said, I don't have work friends. When I was working at BU, I was like, I don't have work friends. When I worked in higher ed, I was like, no, we're not really friends. We are co-workers. Doesn't seem fair, does it? So they made this announcement, but there's just one problem. Apparently, she did not confirm that, but they went public, so they got the jump on it. They trying to control the narrative. Kind of weird how you didn't email or call me to ask about the times or availability and chose to instead tweet this confirmation out at midnight. Why am I learning about this on X? December 15th does not work in person, and 2 p.m. PT is also literal time. I do my podcast live every day, which you knew, but we will happily cancel the daily podcast and we'll join you guys virtually instead for the live stream on the 15th, if that works on your end. Let's lock it in. So again, why can't they do this virtually? Because let me tell you, Candace, you in danger, girl. Because look, I don't blame her. Even if she did have that day free, I wouldn't go there. You don't know what's waiting around that corner. You don't know what those people are going to do. I don't trust a lot of people. Call me, like suspicious, but I don't trust a lot of people. I may have, the academic smarts, but I also have street smarts because I've been in these streets, and I tell you, I don't trust a lot of people. And the way she may be looking at it is like, again, you don't know what these people are going to do. So they picked a date, didn't even confirm with her. And so she did speak about that earlier today. It's really messed up.
After my episode yesterday, I expected, call me crazy, I expected that Turning Point would reach out to me via text, via email, that they would instantly follow up with their long diatribe and to be sincere and say, okay, here are some dates and some times. When would you like to make this happen? We're going to set up this great debate. Rather, instead of hearing anything from Turning Point, I heard from Skylar, my executive producer, this morning via text, which I'm going to show you, that I was somehow already 9 hours into a 24-hour countdown that was issued by Turning Point USA. Here is that text exchange with Skylar this morning. He 8:49 said, I'm sure you saw this. And I responded to him and I said, no, actually, I didn't see this. And I opened the tweet, which went out from Blake Neff around midnight last night. And here's what he wrote. I'm like, how am I supposed to see this? The live stream we announced on the show Wednesday has been set. That would imply to the audiences that they reached out to me and we set a time. No, he goes on at 4 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. local time on Monday, December 15th. A collection of Charlie's friends will respond to statements made by Candace Owens to set the record straight once and for all prior to the opening of America Fest. Now, if it's going to be once and for all, it sounds pretty final. I mean, I would assume that I would have to contribute so that I could answer back, right? He goes on to write, we'll be live streaming, as he said from the beginning, this is going to be a live streamed event from Charlie's Phoenix studio Our offer from yesterday holds. If Candace wishes to join us in person in Phoenix, she is welcome to do so. She can let us know by the end of today. Why? Well, I'm sorry. If you're saying this is happening on the 15th, why am I getting 24 hours to be able to respond to you? That doesn't make any sense. That for some reason feels like this is a BS offer and a really cheap PR move. There's no reason to issue a 24-hour response and to put this up in the middle of the night. A. B, there's no reason you didn't reach out to me and say, hey, does this work? Can I check some flights, see if I can get in there? Nope. This is it. They put this up there on the 15th. The last week of our show is live. Obviously, leading up to Christmas, that's the last week of our show. Obviously, it's a pretty busy week. So I'm like, okay, caught off guard by this, but you know what? I sense this is a PR move. So let me say, you've already said it's live streamed. If an event is live streamed, of course, we can make it work any place. I mean, at any time, any day, we can make this happen, right? Because you're live streaming it. There's no reason I can't show up electronically, okay? I respond to him and I say this, kind of weird how you didn't email or call me to ask about times or availability and instead chose to tweet this confirmation out at midnight. Why am I learning about this on X? December 15th does not work in person. And 2 p.m. happens to also be the literal time that I do my podcast live every day, which you knew, but we will happily cancel the daily podcast and we'll join you guys virtually instead for the live stream on the 15th. If that works on your end, let's lock it in, ? Okay, we're jumping here. Let's just make it happen. Okay, that's the beauty of the internet. That is the beauty of 2025. You can literally be any place, anytime. Just send me a link, right? Any place, anytime, and we can join you virtually. In fact, today on their show, they had Andrew Colbert joining them virtually. So they have the tech capability to do this. We have tech capability to do this. Let's make this sincere and do this for people around the world who do not feel that you guys have been honest and forthcoming.
But this is not the first time that it was done this way, because I want to give you another example. When this whole issue happened with the Daily Wire, and she was removed from the Daily Wire, and her and Ben Shapiro were going back and forth on X, Ben Shapiro said, okay, we can have a debate about it. He did the exact same thing that Turning Point USA just did. He said it had to be this time, this date, this place, and in person. What is with this whole gotta be in person thing, right? So what does that tell you about the character of Ben Shapiro and all those other dudes and chicks over at Turning Point USA? What does that tell you about their character? It's got to be on my terms. They want to do that. They want the space. They want the place because they want to try to control the way it goes and the narrative. Now, here's the thing. Candace worked with Turning Point USA. She worked with the Daily Wire. She debated people for a long time. Like for years, Candace used to do like debates and stuff. I didn't agree with her most of the time, but she used to do debates and all this type of stuff. She knows how they operate. These people were coached. They've all been coached on how to debate, etc. And she knows like what they'll probably try to do. So if it's her against like 4 or 5 people, it's probably going to be massive interruptions. Every time she tries to point something out, she'll be interrupted. You guys know how this works. And I think the idea is to get her flustered to make her look like she's the one that's losing it. But why it's got to be in person, man, right? So here's the thing. I don't think they really want to have conversation. I think they figured they would just ignore her and let this just, go over their heads and keep it moving. I think they thought that by now, Candace would not be looking further into what happened to Charlie Kirk, and this would just be a blip on the radar and they could keep it moving. But that didn't happen. So out of all the people to piss off, they really pissed off the wrong person. Also, because she was a part of that organization, and because people got to remember back then, she was kind of like the female of the, you know what I mean? Like it was her, Charlie, Ben Shapiro, but she was kind of the female face with that organization for quite some time. You kind of saw Candace Owens everywhere. Candace knows a lot about these people. I think she knows a lot about these people. I think she knows a lot about that organization. And another thing I think they got a problem with is, okay, she letting too much information out in the bag. She's showing text messages and she's telling too much. We must stop her. And I think that's what they're really afraid of. They're probably sitting back wondering, what else is she going to tell?
In terms of answers that you could obviously supply regarding Charlie Kirk's assassination. Well, if we needed any more evidence that nothing that they do is genuine and that this was an obvious planned PR move, here is what Blake tweeted out just now before we went live on the show. Yesterday, we made it clear that we would be scheduling a formal response to allegations and accusations that you have made. We have decided that that response will be delivered during a live stream, as he said, a live stream on December 15th. Thank you for your response, letting us know that you will not be joining the in-person conversation. We will be proceeding without you. Why are you proceeding without me? To have a conversation that is about me. Why am I getting 24 hours to respond? Why do you need me there in person if you are trying to be sincere and answer the very many questions that I have brought up on this show? You guys weren't even sincere in what you said yesterday. You told some glaring lies about things that I have said. So we're supposed to trust that you guys are going to handle this discussion all by yourselves and respond to any and every allegation. And this isn't just some planned PR for once and for all. Like I said, this is so obvious. He is being completely destroyed in the comments because what's happening at Turning Point, and I've seen this happen before, is they now believe that they are smarter than their audience, right? They think they are smarter than their small pocket donors. They can pull such an obviously crappy public move like this and pretend, well, we tried. You know, she said she could make it work and we tried, but it has to be physically, she needs to be in person, even though we have shown that we have people join us not in person and it's live streamed and we both have the tech abilities to do that. If she doesn't make this work within 24 hours, we can now say that it's on Candace. This is a disaster, okay? It is.
And also, and they'll just say, well, she didn't want to come through with it and yada, yada. But, you know, everybody can see what's going on. Obviously, Candace puts up large numbers. She puts up large numbers with her show. And more people are watching what she is saying. I just saw this back and forth between her and Tim Pool the other day. She puts up larger numbers than Tim Pool. So I think there's some jealousy going on. But, you know, here's what I would do. If they are like, well, we're not going to have this conversation with you now because you won't be here in person and we're going to live stream and we're going to talk about you anyway, I would go live the exact same time as them and I would live stream their live stream. And so I would respond to the things that they're saying about me. Candace is probably not going to do that. She's probably not as, that's me being petty. That's me being petty. She probably isn't going to do that though, but I would. And so I think that's how you push back because it's like, so they're just going to make a live stream and they're just going to talk about you after it was supposed to be a debate, but you can't say anything. Stu and Matt said that is Sabby winning. And they can see who gets more viewers. You know? So Brenda said that would be fantastic. I say go for it.
Is a dumpster fire. That's the only way to describe what is happening at Turning Point USA today and right now is a dumpster fire. Everyone can read this for what it is. As I said, they are getting destroyed in the comments. Like, really, guys? Really? You're not going to just send us a simple live stream link and let us join you? We've had people on this show live streamed. We could have them tomorrow. I said, in response, I said to them, I'll make this work. I also attached to that tweet any day leading up to the 15th. We can do this virtually any place and any time. But no, they need to have it in person in Phoenix on December 15th or they cannot have me at all. Is that passing the vibe check for you guys? Or does it seem like more posturing and more of a way for them to simply be in the room with themselves as they all lie without any person in the room to be able to fact check those lies, who have researched those lies and who have kept a list regarding the very many lies they are telling?
You know, it's over when a woman tells you she got a list. And we do love our list. Miss Pamela said, such a good idea, Sabby. You guys should tell Candace, tell her that she should go live while they're live. Petty, 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 petty. That's being petty. Yeah, because the thing is, talk is cheap at the end of the day. They said they would have this conversation, but it has to be on their terms. And that's not fair. That's not a good way, obviously, to do this, but they're not trying to be fair. Their goal is to smear. So I think we can all see where this is going. So they're talking all this stuff, but they don't really want to sit down and debate Candace. They don't want to have this conversation with her. Just like Ben Shapiro didn't want to. He ran away too. If it's not on this day at this time, then wet ass P word. So you guys know how it is. Bill Bobby said they're pissing off. I think you mean off. They're pissing off all of us. I don't even really like Candace and definitely not Charlie Kirk, but I'm all up in this whole thing now. It's like, yeah. Oh my gosh, man. I know everybody's in this. It's wild. It's wild. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.